And I talk about this in a lot of the communication workshops that I do. People they genuinely don't listen to listen. They listen to respond. It's a common, thing. And we're in a world where, let's face it, like half the time we're barely listening because we're distracted by a phone or an email or something because we're like this, right? But I think most often people are listening to respond as opposed to just sitting there and like really listening. What are the things that I'm hearing this person say beneath the surface?
Welcome to the Coachability Code podcast. This is your host, Jordan Ring. Coaches, you ready to be coached? Let's go. All right, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Coachability Code podcast. This week I have Nadine with me, and I already know she's going to be a great guest. So Nadine, if you could just briefly introduce yourself, and from me and the listeners, thank you so much for being here and for giving of your time. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, Jordan. It's great to be here. So I am Nadine Lavigne. Yeah, the quick introduction is that I spent 20 plus years in corporate, and now I am out on my own. I'm doing coaching, team development, team workshops, fractional HR work. Essentially what I say is, let's talk about what you see going wrong, and then we'll figure out what the solution is, because you never know what the right solution might be to what's going on in your company with your teams and your leaders. So I'm here to help.
Awesome. So, I'm going to ask you a couple icebreakers first, just because I like the answers to these questions. But if you could tell us your favorite book, favorite movie, and then also a weird thing about you that you don't mind sharing with other people.
Yeah. So you mentioned favorite book, favorite movie, right? And I've been thinking about this. My favorite book is probably going to be, and this is a weird one, but it's a children's book, right? Like, because I have such great memories of reading with my kids. And there's one that's about like, it's basically, and gosh, I'm blanking on the title, but it's basically about how the son grows and then he's very close to his mother. It's almost like the Cats in the Cradle story, right? Then he grows up, has a life, like they aren't as close, but then they always come back to being close together in the long run. But I just thought of all these children's books that for me were really meaningful when I was reading to my kids, and even still now, they keep some of them on their shelves.
No, that's super cool. Yeah, I told my wife the other day that one of my favorite books growing up is The Trumpet of the Swan. And that's by E.B. White. That's the same author that did Charlotte's Web. So everyone knows Charlotte's Web. Yeah. But for me, I was like, actually, I like his other book, Trumpet of the Swan. She was like, what? And even we had it up during her baby shower. There was like a quote from it, and nobody knew what it was from. They were like, what is that from? Like, yes, I got it so obscure that no one knew. So
yeah. And
anyway, they're great books.
Yeah. I'm thinking of others that they just had such good stories, like such heartwarming stories within each of these books. So that's what came to mind when I thought about a book. And movies, man, there's so many, but I'd have to go with like an 80s movie, like Goonies or something like that, nice. Or Breakfast Club, something like that. Those are the movies that I love.
No, I mean, I think 80s and 90s movies are some of the best movies out there. I like watching older movies and older shows. It's just kind of, I say older, they're older for me because I was born in 89. But I love that era in terms of, I think it was some of the best filmmaking, one of the best filmmaking eras that we've had. So that's just my opinion, but they're good movies.
Yeah, they are. I mean, let's face it, when you're trying to they're doing Ferris Bueller's Day Off again or part 2, it's like, okay,
I didn't know that. That seems crazy.
I'm just saying, when they create these they're remakes of these original classics, it's good, right? And they're just trying to hang on the coattails of something that was 30 years old now. So anyway, it's an old movie for me. One of those that's like a Ferris or a Goonies or, those great classics.
Cool. And one weird thing about you.
I struggled with this one.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything weird. I guess the weirdest thing, and maybe it's not a secret if anyone follows me on LinkedIn, is that I do, I'm totally a t-shirt and jeans girl. I have an unreal amount of t-shirts, typically funny, usually some sort of saying. I had to start getting rid of some because I have so many. So yeah, I guess that's a weird thing. I collect t-shirts, and I think it's funny and fun to have crazy amounts of t-shirts.
No, I mean, it's weird. I think it's also cool. That's fun. Not everyone does that. So I like it.
I was able to do every Friday for an entire year. So that tells you how many t-shirts.
That you had a collection. Yeah. It's
Sadly.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Nadine, let's jump into more about what you do. So if someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, Nadine, what do you do for work?" Or "What are you doing now?" How do you go about answering that?
Yeah, and I started going into that a little bit, but it's so interesting because depending on the audience, I might say something a little different,
Yeah.
right? When I talk to my kids and my parents, I usually say, "Oh, HR or talent development or leadership development or something very general like that." What I really like to do, though, where I really find the value is when I can have this deep consulting discussion with someone, like I said earlier, to really figure out how are the people in their organization? How's everyone really doing? Right. And are your teams functioning really well? Are your leaders feeling like they can survive and not just be toxically resilient? Right. Like, how's everybody feeling? And then based on that conversation, the solution could be very different things. It could be a workshop. It could be leadership development. It could be one-on-one coaching. It could be team coaching, right? So I don't want to say I do one thing
Yeah.
and I hate to say I do all those things, but
Yeah.
it's really the conversation and allowing that person the opportunity to really think about how the organization is responding to all the change in the world. How's the organization feeling? How are they interacting with each other and connecting? Then let's go from there.
No, and I like that. And I asked that question, especially because I know for some coaches and some people that are out there doing things, they think they have to have this perfect answer to that question. And I'm hearing from a lot of coaches, hey, like it really does depend on the person, depends on the situation. And I get that general sense, but I feel like it really does matter. And like you don't have to have a perfect, you can practice your elevator pitch or whatever, depending on the situation, but you don't have to have
Yeah.
a perfect, like, this is what I do answer spelled out and something that you give every person that is going to close the lead right away or
Yeah.
hold that relationship. Like it can be, but it usually is more of that, connection piece. At least that's been my experience, and other people have shared similar things to you as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And Jordan, I'll tell you, like I've had a lot of worry around this because I totally feel like I should have something that's more
Hmm.
succinct.
Yeah.
And yet every time I think about it, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I do because everyone tells me I do. But at the same time, maybe that's my answer. Like I'm a connector, I'm a talker.
Hmm.
I'm going to consult and have that conversation. That maybe that's my answer. I have to maybe clear that up a little bit more and make it again still more succinct, but
Yeah.
you don't talk about the solutions. I talk about the way that I connect with people and converse with people and listen to people. And that's what then becomes a solution down the road based on what they need.
No, I think that's super cool. So the people that would be in need of what you can provide, like what are they thinking about? What do they need that they come to you for? Like what is that main, not maybe not necessarily main, but what are some of the things that you do see that people need help with?
Yeah. So a lot of times what I'm seeing a lot of traction with right now is companies that have either acquired another company or they've grown really quickly. They have talent acquisition. They have people that are hiring. They have someone that does benefits. They have the transactional HR piece. They haven't thought about how to keep their people, how to retain their people,
Okay.
and kind of like, okay, now I have all these new people. What do I do with them? So it could be, like I said, it could be training, learning, succession planning, performance development, having those performance conversations, having goal setting conversations, anything that's like people and talent and growing your people at your company would be where I could come in and support. And like I said, I've seen some traction because there's some companies that are growing really quick to meet their business needs, and then they don't know what to do with the people.
Yeah.
That's where I come in and help.
So you kind of help them with the what's next or any specific, I'm sure there's a bunch of different things, but I'm just curious, like what is if there are some of the things that are initial wins that you help people with,
Yeah.
or yeah, what are they taking away from what some of the quick wins could be?
Quick. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for getting me more specific. Yeah, I'd say it's goal setting,
Okay.
accountability, and actually clarity. Right. So a
Hmm.
lot of these business leaders are like, oh, my people know exactly what they need to do. And the people are sitting around like, oh, but I
Do
have
they? Yeah.
right. I have a million things I'm working on, and I'm pretty sure I have all these emails and I'm just firefighting every day. I don't really know the priorities. So clarity from the business leaders is huge. And then helping those team members really set good goals helping to hold them accountable, because a lot of times they don't have those accountability systems built
Mm-hmm.
in yet. And so ultimately, when you do those things, you're going to see more specific success in the areas where the business leaders need growth or need success. So those have been the quick wins. And it sounds simple, like, oh, goal setting, but so many smaller companies and people that are just reacting so quickly, they don't always think about it. It's not like a business essential. It's kind of a nice to have, but it really is kind of a business essential too.
Yeah, and so I totally resonate with that. I mean, it works the same with what I do, but it seems like every coach that comes onto this podcast is like, hey, let's get back to the simpler things and the clarity that we can bring. Just because we as a coach can really help people meet their goals and do all these great things, it doesn't mean that we have this like otherworldly answer to all these problems, right? Like
Right.
we're not better than anyone else. We just understand the power in a lot of cases of that simplicity. Not that that's everything, but it does seem to be a big part of it because yeah, people can't write a book with me unless we have some kind of outline, some kind of like knowing what we're doing. So, all right, Nadine, thinking of the people that you've worked with directly, even the companies that you worked with, has there been someone that stands out and you say, wow, this team or this person was great to work with? And then if there is someone or some company, like what was it about that situation? What was it about them? What was it about the working relationship? Like talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the companies that I just know will be successful and are always good to, and this may end up sounding obvious, but the ones that genuinely care and recognize the value in bringing someone like me in focusing on their people, and really listening to their people, having conversation, right? Those that genuinely care and leaders at the very top that exhibit those behaviors are the best to work with, because you know that if they're exhibiting it that at the top, it's going to flow down. People will
Yeah,
feel it,
that's a great
right?
point.
And then there's some where the business leader is like, my HR partner told me I had to, essentially, you can read through the lines. Like their HR business partner told them that they had to bring someone in because there's some toxicity, or there's like people are missing each other, people are stressed out, engagement scores are down, whatever. And it's a bit frustrating because they just want you to come in and they feel like you coming in, you're going to magically fix everything, and you're not. It's a process, right? A one and done is not typically going to solve team issues, leadership issues, right? Even personal
Yeah.
connection issues between various team members and people within the organization. So if you don't have the right buy-in and people that genuinely want to change and care about their people, it's frustrating. And sure, I mean, I'll go in and try, but I also usually give them this caveat that's like, me coming in for one workshop and then walking away and never coming back and never following up, and you never following up and you never changing behavior, is probably not going to actually change the company. So
Yeah.
those are the two that I think of. And it comes back to just rooted in connection and caring.
Have you worked with a company that maybe did come in that was like a more forced, like, hey, someone's telling me I have to do this, but then maybe they were like slightly open or you were able to find success with them? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm curious, you've been able to work with them to turn it around a little bit to
I'd
be
say
more of a success story.
absolutely. I just had one a couple months ago, and I would say hesitant is the right word. Like
Okay.
we went back and forth on even what I would do during the
Okay.
workshop and right. And I was feeling very strongly one way, and they were like, nope, it's going to seem corny. We're not doing that. Right. And so, and we got in there, had the most, allowed for the most amazing conversation throughout that day, that now they are actually calling me back and saying, let's do more. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, I mean, whether that's the content, whether that's me and the environment I created, I don't know, whether it's that person's ability to sit back, watch their team, and recognize that the team needed more. And so that's why they're calling back and saying, we need more. Like whatever happened, something happened. And it's great. It feels good when I'm able to change someone's opinion. Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like there's an authority building piece of not like taking a stand, but for you saying, "Hey, this is how I want to do it," and them saying, "Okay, it's corny." And I think some coaches would sit back and say, "Okay, whatever you want to do, you're the one hiring me. That's fine." But I think there is value, and we show our value almost by saying, no, but this is why I want to do this and this way. You don't have to do it this way by any means, but let me share my view of things and the expertise I'm bringing to the table. So from what you were saying, it sounds like there was a little bit of that too, of like, hey, she's someone that she's not willing to push back. I don't like the word pushback necessarily,
Yeah.
but she's not going to back down, and you show what you are
Yeah.
capable of is what I'm trying to say. But I'm just
Yeah.
curious if you think there was part of that there.
Yes, it's an amazing call out because I did have that. In this scenario, I was going back to a business that I spent many years at.
Okay.
So I had credibility because I had already sat in the seats of those people in that business. Like I experienced what they've experienced.
So
And so I
you know what you were talking about,
I
yeah.
yeah, I did. So this was a bit of a unique opportunity
Yeah.
because I did have that experience in that and coming in the credibility. I think in sometimes I would have, depending on the client, there you're right. I probably would have backed down a little bit more. I don't always advocate for myself as strongly as I did there because I knew I had the credibility. I knew I could stand on my own. But it's something that I need to work on because I do have a lot of history at these great big, Fortune 100 companies. Then I need to give myself more credit sometimes and stand on that credibility and push for what I think is right.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I'm still working at that too. And I think a lot of coaches, if they were honest with themselves, that they're working at that because it's so hard, especially, you're trying to grow your business, you're trying to reach out to people, you're trying to find people to work with you, right? And I think not every coach is so busy that they can they can turn down everyone that comes to
Right.
them. And
Right.
you want that party that says, okay, well, I'm just gonna like not bow, but I'm gonna try to think like I'm definitely gonna think about what they want, but what
Hmm.
people really want is a little bit of that again pushback, but a little bit of like, show me why I should work with you. Show me that you really do know what you're talking about. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes it does take that credibility there. So I know I have to work at that too. Because yeah, I want to help people with what they need and want help with. But then
Right.
when they come to me, they don't always know exactly what they need. And I realize that because I'm the expert, right?
Exactly.
I'm the one that's been in
Right.
the book writing world for 10 years. Like I'm the one who knows better than them. But I think it's that part of me, like I don't like to assume that I know more than someone else. The people that are working with me have so much like rich history and all this
Oh yeah.
experience. And I never want to be like, well, you have to do it this way, or definitely
Right.
consider this way. But there are times where
But
it would be helpful if I were to say that.
yeah,
So
I was going to say,
yeah,
remember, they're coming to you because they want
yeah,
expertise, right? They're looking to
yeah.
you for that. Otherwise, they would do it on their own. So, yeah, it's something that, probably like you said, all of us could do more of, like the self advocating when we know that we really do have the expertise in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's pivot a little bit. And if
All
you
right.
can think of, let's talk about breakthrough moments. And if you can think of specific ones, great. If we want to talk about this in general, that's fine too. But
Hmm.
breakthrough moments that your clients or your teams have had, like just thinking about that. I know this is a tough question, but if you could dial it into what brought that on and what were some of the discussions there and thought processes behind those breakthrough moments?
Yeah. So I actually, ironically, as I was thinking about this podcast today and thinking about what is a breakthrough moment that I like vividly remember where I could talk about the context and everything? And I had one actually earlier this week, even. Well, wait,
Amazing.
I was going to say, it's like, it's only Tuesday. It must have been, yeah. So it was, we were talking about gratitude. We were talking about gratitude, vulnerability, and forgiveness. And the person that I was talking with was talking about their TED Talk and was sharing the TED Talk with me, practicing and getting some insight and input. And I I think I think the breakthrough happened because we were talking about what happens first. Is it vulnerability? Is it forgiveness? Or is it gratitude? And we just went back and forth and had like this really rich discussion on that. But ultimately, it was a couple questions that I was asking that allowed that person to say, "Holy cow, that's what I need to talk about." That like it was a breakthrough moment. And it was just because I was being extremely curious. I didn't have a list of questions in front of me or anything. I was just really curious how that person's journey brought them to this TED Talk, how the TED Talk evolved, and like this whole discussion around forgiveness and shame and vulnerability and gratitude and all these things. And I asked this very curious question, and boom, he was like, Holy cow. So, all that to say, I think when I think about the breakthroughs and moments like that, it's been my curiosity and my questions that I ask that allow someone to think of something differently than they ever had before.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Uh, It sounds like, and that's a very natural part of who you are,
Yeah. Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
questioning.
Yes.
Now, would you say, curious if someone came to you and say, Nadine, I get that, I agree with that. Maybe I'm not a naturally curious person. How could I improve at that? Is there a way to improve? Is there a way to be thinking about that, or what is there a thought process for it? Yeah, I recognize the power of curiosity, but maybe I don't have that naturally because yeah, natural born connectors don't necessarily have that. So yeah, I'm curious
Yeah.
if there is a way to
Yeah. I
build
think
that.
there is. I think there is. I think if they want to, it's like anything else, they can build that muscle or that
Yeah.
habit.
Okay.
So what I would say is go out and like, I mean, I use ChatGPT, right? Go out and ask ChatGPT for a couple questions or like have the conversation with ChatGPT to get some questions that feel like they're good, not things that feel like when they come out of your mouth, it's completely not you, right?
Yeah.
But they feel authentic and real and like things that you would ask. Have a list of a couple and get yourself to ask the questions. And then you're practicing using that muscle. And eventually, I think it just starts to become habit like anything else. And you start to think of different questions and you start to, like the curiosity just builds if you force yourself to ask a couple questions. But I think it starts with like 3 to 5 that you use all the time.
No, I mean, I think that makes total sense. And also from my own perspective, doing this podcast, for me, it's not being afraid to follow those tangents because some questions you're going to ask and they're potentially going to be irrelevant. Usually
Yeah.
they're not, because if you are asking out of a curious standpoint or to just to get to know them a little bit more, they're good. There's going to be something there. Usually when you ask a question, it's not a total dud. Like you're still talking about something. But yeah, not being
Exactly.
afraid to follow the tangents. And I would say that's not like a how to get better at podcast interviewing tip. That's just like a how to get better at communicating with people and talking to people tip.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
yeah, so I like that we talked about that a little bit more. That's cool.
Yeah. I think the other thing is, and I talk about this in one of the communication workshops that I do, people just, they genuinely don't listen to listen. They listen to respond. It's a common, thing. And we're in a world where, let's face it, like half the time we're barely listening because we're distracted by a phone or an email or
Yeah.
something else because we're like this, right? But I think most often people are listening to respond as opposed to just sitting there and like really listening. What are the things that I'm hearing this person say beneath the surface, right? Like, what's
Yeah.
the person feeling as they're talking to me? And if you do that, you're going to get all kinds of questions, I really think. But we don't take the time to do that at that level, at that depth. So, another way to
I,
improve.
yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's like fighting through the distraction. And I think it's as much as you can pulling the pressure off yourself to have the perfect response, right? Because if you're so worried about having a perfect response or asking the perfect question, then like the entire time you were just talking, I would have been like, oh man, but am I worried? Like, where are we going to go in the podcast? Are we in the right spot? No, I'm not thinking about that because that's like does not add value to the conversation, right?
Right.
It's difficult, but it takes practice to be as in the moment as possible. But I mean, everyone needs to work at that because we're constantly battling that with distractions and everything. So
Sure. And our minds are just constantly going. But if we have that very like genuine conversation where you're not thinking about what to say next and you just are listening, it's going to feel more real too. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So another question for you. Over the past year, you can go 6 months, you can go beyond a year. It's fine. The year doesn't really matter. But
Okay.
what's a lesson that you've been learning as a coach recently? Maybe good or bad.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's actually one that I've been learning. I guess I don't know if I want to say bad, but it's something that I do and I need to be careful about. I find that I like to give advice. And
Okay.
as a coach, you cannot really ask like leading or guiding questions. You genuinely have to be asking the questions that allow that person to come up with their own answers and
Hmm.
allow them to do the self discovery, right? And oftentimes, whether I don't know, whatever is going on in my head. And we were just talking about this, right? I'm thinking, oh, I've been in that situation before. I can help them. I can fix this. And like, I'm all excited to help them
Yeah.
fix. And I really have to pull myself back. I have to recognize when I'm doing that, consciously pull myself away from that and say, I cannot ask the next question in a guiding or leading way and try and lead them to my solution that I think is right. I have to make sure that I'm unbiased and asking a question that allows them to do the self-discovery. So that's something that I've learned about myself and I do need to work on. Although, I mean, sometimes that is what people want. Sometimes they do want guidance, right? So
Yep.
I think that's part of like at the beginning of the conversation. Do you want this to be a coaching conversation? Do you want me to? So I have something else I tell people all the time, which is Triple H. Do you want me to help you handle it or just hear you?
That's good. I
And I
love
use it.
that.
Yeah, I use it with my daughter all the time because as a teenager, I'm like, okay, do you want me to just hear you right now? Or do you want me to handle it for you? Or do you want me to help you and give you some guidance? And honestly, that small little acronym is so useful when you come into conversations because sometimes people just want to vent. Sometimes they genuinely do need help or guidance. So I think it's, yeah, a really great little acronym that I teach people all the time.
I mean, no, I love it too. I mean, that's something I want to start using just because of thinking about what we were just talking about, curiosity, and almost adding that intentionality piece of like, okay, I recognize that as a coach, I am here to ask these questions, but you're demonstrating that by asking that as the question initially and setting that like intention for the conversation. And then because again, like you just said, like you're not asking a leading question as a coach. You're asking, how can I help you
Yeah. What's the
best in
best way for
this?
me to show up?
And then but then it's like, to me, like the coaching piece beyond that, you can tell me what you think about this, but the coaching piece for that is giving them the language to be able to respond by saying, okay, yeah, Triple H, here, you can hear me, I can help you or handle it. I think, well, maybe that was the middle one. I mixed it up, but yeah,
It doesn't matter the order.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever you
Whatever.
decide
Yeah.
to do there, you're saying you're giving them as the coach, you're not pushing, but you're helping them be able to help themselves. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's what I want to unlock the most from this podcast, from these conversations is how can we help people help themselves. But I like that in terms of, yeah, you're not just popping in and giving advice and you're not just saying, hey, I'm going to help you with this.
Right.
People get defensive. Maybe
Right.
I didn't want help.
Exactly.
Or even if I wanted help, because you said I need help, now I don't want help.
Now
People
I
could be
right.
like that. So
Exactly. So it's interesting because managers sometimes will tell me, they're like, well, how do I know what my employee needs? And I said, ask.
yeah,
Like,
did you ask
how
it?
do you want me to show up for you right now? What would be most helpful to you? Do you want me to just hear you? Do you want me to help you? Or do you want me to handle it for you? And yeah, just ask. So, anyways,
Cool.
love it.
What areas have you been coached? I mean, this could be throughout your life too, or something recent. And then the second part to that question, how has it helped you to become a better coach for the people that you're helping?
Yeah. So the areas that I'm typically coached are, I don't, and we talked about it earlier, I don't advocate for myself enough. I kind of am kind of bored with the word imposter syndrome because they're not bored with it, but it's overdone.
Yeah,
But
everyone's talking about it, but it is real. It is
but
real.
it is
So
real. And that's something else that I've worked through. Even my own, I know what I should do, but I get distracted and do other things that have more fun doing. I have a lot of I have a lot of energy and I have a lot of excitement towards certain things, but you know, channeling that in the right places is often what I need some help with. I think for the most part, it's me seeing the how do I say this? Me seeing the good in what I've already accomplished. So again, I guess that comes back to self-advocacy. I don't celebrate wins enough. I'm the type
yeah,
of person that it's
same.
right. Like,
100% on that
right.
one.
Like I'm the type of person that I'm like, oh, I hit a goal. Well, guess what? That goal is just, the goalpost moved. And I do need someone to hold me accountable to pausing and celebrating some of the things that I have accomplished because I don't do that enough either. So, how does that help me as a coach? It's funny, like a lot of the things I tell
Yeah.
people, I am not good at myself.
Yeah.
So, like, I just need to take my own advice because I'm actually good at helping others do that. I'm really good at helping others pause and I do these gratitude hours where I'm like, we're talking about what are we grateful for? And yet I don't even sometimes do that myself enough. So, Yeah. I mean, I need to do more of what I tell others to do. I talk about some of the reason I write as much as I do on LinkedIn, and the things that I write are often just as much for me as they
Yeah.
are for somebody else out there. Like, I needed to hear that message today, so that's why I wrote it, that sort of thing. So it's probably that I just need to take my own advice more often.
I love that. And I think probably most people could say that too. If they're being honest with themselves as coaches, like, how often have I done that? Or am I scheduling my writing time? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like because
Right.
I think at some point, and I don't know if this is true for all coaches, but I think sometimes you think you move beyond certain pieces of advice or things that people should do. And maybe sometimes that's the case. But I think, again, if we're talking about the simple things working, I think if we took our own advice, we would go back to the roots and say, but this is what works, because this is what I would tell people. And why am I not doing that? Okay, maybe I need to have those questions, but it's very difficult to have those conversations with yourself. So that's where it's helpful to
Exactly.
have someone else come in and hold you
Exactly.
accountable,
Exactly.
at least have the conversation, ask the questions so that you have to respond. And then you're like, you're right. I should be doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And the minute they do it, I know. I'm like, oh, I know what I should be doing. I'm just not. You know what I mean? It's just such a good reminder. And like you said, they hold you accountable when you're always focused on maybe others and how to help others. Then they turn around and realize or help you realize how to help yourself.
yeah,
So,
100%.
yeah.
So this question is a little bit of a pivot, but I really like to ask it because this is very important to most coaches that are listening to this. So,
Okay.
Nadine, what has been helpful, successful, useful to you in growing your coaching business? Anything recent? Anything that you would even recommend? You don't even have to be taking your own advice on this, but even say, hey, this is what works. What works the best
Yeah.
for growing your business? What would you say?
I would say, I would say starting with genuine connection. So the people that I end up working with and working best with, if I think back to the contracts that I've signed, the clients I've worked with, they've been people who I connected with first personally.
Yeah.
So I don't do a whole lot of cold outreach. I don't like it. My version of cold outreach is finding someone that I have something in common with and chatting with them about that first and like getting to know them. My version is going to networking events locally and trying to get to know people first. There's a quote that's like, people don't do business with businesses, they do business with people. And so I come back to that and this idea that growing my business is going to mean me, and I don't love the word networking, but networking and networking for the purpose of really connecting with people. So that's what I try and do. I try and reach out to people and get to know them on a personal level before on any business level. And typically they respect that. They enjoy that. And then the relationship blossoms into, oh, I really like Nadine for Nadine. I'm going to bring her in. Not that they necessarily even know that they have a problem to solve yet, but they just want to see how I can help them. So that's what I would say is that genuine connection and getting to know people for who they are first.
Yeah, and I think that makes so much sense. I'm seeing this in terms of people that are talking about cold outreach a lot, is that the hidden cost of that is that I don't want to say sacrifice, but you're hurting the relationship early on. Whereas like you're reaching out to someone cold to say, hey, I want to work with you. Are you looking for this type of person? Then if they aren't, then you are affecting that relationship already, because then if you're reaching out in a really aggressive way, especially if you're following up multiple times and saying you need this, or as
Right.
happens on LinkedIn a lot, people come in and say your profile is terrible. I need help. I'm going to help you out, and here's
Thank
what
you.
I can do to help you. And I
Right.
think when you do that, like some people would say, okay, but then it works at a 100 times or whatever, so it's valuable. Okay, if you're that desperate, I get it. But I also, what people don't talk about is how you're hurting that relationship. And then they're not only not working with you, they're not referring you, they're not connecting to your LinkedIn posts. Like
Right.
that connection, you effectively nulled that connection by being someone that they don't want to relate with. And I just feel
Right.
like there's not enough people talking about that part specifically. It's not really what you were saying, but I just thought of it when you said it. And I'm curious if
Yeah.
that is something you thought of as well, because to me, those connections are all valuable. It doesn't mean you can't go into a DM. It doesn't mean you can't start a conversation. It doesn't even
Right.
mean you can't say what you do. But
Right. No, I do that. Yeah.
if you're following up aggressively and just like punching people through a direct message,
Right.
it's not going to help you. really,
Yeah.
for
Right. I
so
think
many different
about
areas than even your main goal. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think about how do I like to be sold to, right?
yep.
Or who are the people that I end up connecting with? Well, it's not the people that, like you said, get into my DMs and tell me that something's terrible or that I need a better website or right, whatever. Or the people that even don't do their research and send me something like, hey, we want to buy your company. And I'm like, no, no, there's no freaking way you want to buy my company. No, I
Yeah,
know
like,
this is not
no.
true. So it just, that to me is cringy, right? Like, and I don't
Mhm.
want to be that. So I have changed the way I do the outreach. And I think you're absolutely right when it comes to connections of connections. And how are you viewed as a person online? Are you viewed as someone who, yeah, is in the DMs and trying to get to know people, or are you viewed as this person that's like AI spamming everyone every single day? And so, yeah, I try to keep my outreach genuine and more focused on the human side than the selling side. And I talk a lot about the Outlier Project, and Scott will tell you all the time that something, these connections that you make now might not be any sort of business success now, but you just don't know down the road. And something new could happen. Someone could say, "Oh, I know this person at this company." It's kind of like you never want to burn a bridge. It's always good to have a new
Never.
connection. So I'm just kind of a firm believer in the long game. Make the connections now. Something good will happen. Like I'm putting it out there and manifesting it, right? Something good will happen. So that's kind of what I probably not the best business model. Many people would be like, you need a better strategy, but that's me. That's the genuine me. So
No, and I think like especially because it works for you and because you feel good about it. And I think that's another thing that people sometimes don't put enough stake to. It's like you feel good about this. You
yeah,
have to with your business and what you're doing with people. I think you have to feel good about it. If it gives you icky feelings sending that message, then it's maybe it's going to work for you in the short term. It's going to get you a client, but then there's always the potential questions that go along with that. Is that really a good fit? Did you push too hard? Like, especially if you're getting some bad feelings about it. So I think it's important to trust the feeling on that and how you are being represented in that way for the long
exactly.
term, because the long term matters, right? Unless
Yeah.
you're really in it to make a quick buck. I don't think anyone listening to this is doing coaching for that reason. There are other ways to make money faster than helping people. So
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. This isn't exactly. Yeah. This isn't not a get rich quick scheme at
no,
all.
no, not at
Yeah.
all.
So
All right, Nadine, I always like to give people a chance to get the limelight. You get to say what you want to say. So, do you have a soapbox? And if you do, please stand on it. We want to hear from you and learn a little bit more from you and what you care about and what you think about. There's certain things. So, please feel free to
yeah.
share.
And I don't necessarily want to call it a soapbox, right? But something that I genuinely believe in and care about is changing the way that leaders behave in companies, right? I came from corporate. I've seen some pretty toxic things happen. And I've also had some pretty amazing leaders that were very real. I say that word a lot, very authentic, genuine, vulnerable, right? They listened. These are things that, so it's not necessarily one soapbox, but it's like creating leaders of the future that have these more human skills that stop with the command and control
Yeah.
and really are more servant leaders, but have these more human skills where they're treating each other, treating people on their teams, treating their peers with respect. So I'm really, really big on vulnerability, which then, as I mentioned earlier, drives gratitude. And I'd say that's the one thing that's been kind of a game changer for me recently is changing my perspective towards a gratitude centered and really thinking about every day. And it's not just like saying thanks to people or I'm writing that I'm grateful for my family. It's really, really deep appreciation
Yeah.
for people, for sometimes things, for opportunities, for experiences. And it's really just, it's changed my focus. It's changed the way that I approach each day. So if there's a soapbox, it's about how to change leaders, how to bring gratitude into that environment, whether it be large corporations or even small businesses, and the power that it's had on me and why that's so important, why I believe it's so important.
Cool. I love that. Is there anything else you want to share about coaching, coachability, curiosity, anything, all the topics we've been talking
All
about?
the topics. Oh, not necessarily. I feel like I've said a lot about my business and what I care about. I would say connect with me, right? Find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to find me and connect with me. I'd love more conversations. I love meeting new people and like I mentioned a number of times connecting with others to just understand more about them and see how I can potentially help them or how we can help each other.
Awesome. Now, is LinkedIn best, or do you have a website that people can go to, or?
I do have a website, but LinkedIn's probably best because
Okay,
my
perfect.
website linked there. Everything is linked from LinkedIn. So that's starting spot.
No, perfect. I'll make sure the link to your profile is in there. And Nadine, thank you so much for coming and talking with us about these subjects today. I love this conversation. I love the different little tangents we took and all the major topics we talked about. It's all good. So thanks so much for your time. Super appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. This was great. I loved it. Thank you.
Are you still here listening to this podcast? You're awesome. I got 2 CTAs for you. Number 1, subscribe to this podcast for more. And number 2, have you ever thought about writing a book? Contact Jordan. He can help you out. Jordan at jamring.com.